Okay, in this video on the web application, still dealing with the front end, we will be talking about the HTML form. Okay, just to recap, in the front end, we have dealt with the basic HTML, basic CSS. Now we are dealing with HTML form. And then over the back end, in our part 3, we'll be dealing with Flask, and part 4, SQL with Flask. Now, traditionally, the term form refers to a printed document for user to fill in their information. HTML borrowed the concept of a form to refer to different elements that allow you to collect information from the user when they visit the website. So how to collect information from user? There are different kinds of form control. So we will be dealing with all the different forms. Now, first let us understand how a form works. Now, on the client machine, when the user accesses a particular website, he will be presented with a form which requires him to fill in the information, and then this information will be submitted to the server. Okay, now first he's required to key in his username. So you realize that there is this name and value pair. Now, the name of this particular variable is, or this input is actually the username. And then when the person key in his name as John, for example, then John becomes the value for the username. So whenever a user input something, there will be always the name and value pair. I want you to take note on that. Now, then he start to vote for the following. When he casts his vote again, if he were to choose a symphony as his choice, then there is a name and value pair, vote being the name of this variable, and then the value, whatever he chose, for example, in this case, symphony. Okay. Now, this input will be sent, which is entered by the user, will be sent to the server. Okay. And then the server process the information using some programming language. So in our case, we'll be using Python to do some processing. And then when the server deals with the information, some of the information may be stored into a database. Okay. Then the server will create a new web page and send back to the user so that the user can read it on his client through a browser. So for example, the user submitted his vote. So after the server has processed the information stored into the database, the server generate a new web page thanking the user for submitting his, for example, hi John, thanks for voting Symphony as your favorite song. So that is the whole idea about how a form works. Now, a form can submit information to the server using two methods, namely the get and the post. Okay, so when someone submit a information to the server using the get method, now what happened is that the value that is being submitted is actually appends to the URL of the request, and then it's being sent back to the server. Whereas for a post method, the information that is being submitted is actually stored and added into the request body, the HTTP request body. So it is not obvious, it is not seen on the URL address bar. So, but nonetheless, the data that is stored in the request body itself can still be read if someone were to open up the HTTP data. So what happens is that if you do not specify the method used, the form will by default use the get method to send information to the server. Okay, so this table is to compare between the get method and the post method. Okay, so okay, in terms of the restriction on the data length, now for get method, the maximum URL is 2048 characters. So if you minus off the URL existing, then you have slightly less than 2000 character to submit. Okay, whereas if you use a post method, there is no restriction to the length or the size of the information being submitted. In fact, binary data are also allowed. So in terms of security, GET is less secure compared to POST because data are sent as part of the URL. Okay, so never use a GET method to send password or other sensitive information like your own credit card number or IC number. Okay, now POST is a little safer than GET, but it is not 100% safer. It is not safer because it's not encrypted. Okay. So in terms of visibility, as I said, the GET method will actually attach the data to the URL, so it's visible to anyone. Whereas the POST method, the data is not attached to the URL; it's actually hidden together with the request body. Okay, so for more information, you can actually visit this website to read more about this POST and GET method. Okay, let me start off with the form. When you put this form into the HTML file that we have created. Now, this will reside in the body section. Okay, so basically a form action was sent to this. Now, here http://1200.0.0.1 at this port 5000. Now, this is actually the location of the server. So for the time being, you can just ignore this. So just remember that form action have to be sent to a particular server at a certain port. Okay, and then in between the start and the end of the form tag, this is where you actually put all your form controls. Okay, so the get method. So by default, if you don't specify the method, it is a get method. Whereas if you want to use a post method, you will have to say method equal to post.